What's up, world? How you doing again? This is Fernando Jackson, aka Farmer Fredo, and I want to welcome you to the Fifth Avenue Community Garden. And so today, I'm gonna share something with you that I utilize to really help with preparing the space or to help with transitioning from the spring to the fall. It's called cover cropping. And again, it's called cover cropping. Cover cropping is a technique where you plant a plant in a space where you're about to grow food, for the whole idea of making sure that the bed doesn't go dormant, isn't an open festival for weeds to take over. And cover crops actually help with preparing your soil for the upcoming planting season. So number one, they can help with weed suppression. Some cover crops grow really fast, and because they grow so fast, they outpace the weeds that can be in your garden. The second thing that they do is that once you have the cover crop established and you mow it down, it adds organic matter naturally back into your soil. And then some cover crops are actually utilized to help with taking metals and bad things out of your soil and helping to rebalance your soil out. And then the fourth thing is some of them actually help with nematode suppression and nematode controls. Nematode does a lot with the root system and pretty much makes it where the roots aren't able to take up the nutrients that they need. But here at this garden space, I really like to use just one cover crop in particular, and it's called buckwheat. And see, buckwheat is what we call a fast growing cover crop. And you put it into the ground in about 45 days, it's ready for you to chop it back and to till it under. And the other reason why I like buckwheat is that it has flowers on it. So it's a natural place for pollination, a natural place for bees to have a habitat. It's a natural place for like your beneficial insects that you have in your garden to have a habitat. And then it's also just nice and vibrant in your garden space. So as I'm transitioning from like the heat of summer, going into the fall, especially during the month of August, one of the main things I love to plant is just buckwheat in the garden space, because once it's established, I can use a weed eater or a sickle blade and just chop it back down into the garden space, and it really helps with cover cropping. And so some other cover crops that you could possibly use in your garden space are sorghum Sudan grass, sun hemp. You can also use an iron clay pea for another warm season cover crop. And if you want a cover crop that has a lot of color, you can use sunflowers, and then also brown top millet to create a mat. So these are just names of different cover crops, and most of them you can find at your local feed store in the area where you live at. And again, cover crops again help with conservation. They also help with soil erosion, but it's just a technique you can use. I encourage everyone to use. If you're like letting your garden go dormant, waiting for the fall to come around, or you're thinking about, hey, I'm done with spring, but I'm gonna come back the next spring and plant something, do a cycle of cover crops so that way you don't create a space for weeds to overtake all the hard work you put in during the spring. So again, this is Farmer Fredo. You're checking in and checking out, and growing food is what I'm about. Peace.